And also, it is possible to have no response at all. Okay, so the theory is burdened with the assumption that every word is a sign for thing, aspect, or state of affairs. Alright? So that's the first problem. And then another problem is associated with the right response with the right word. So when you respond in one way or another to a word that is uttered, is your response the right one? Okay. Is your response the right one? So this is a problem. It is assumed that there is a certain response which occurs every time a word is spoken. And it seems there could be an infinite number of dispositions produced by an utterance. But, if you look at these problems, or if you think about this theory, life or interactions, or the way we interact with other people, the way we use language, is not about stimulus and response. It's not about responding to what people have said. It's not about these reactions that we're talking about, overt responses and so on, because this is not the reality. So each of the theories mentioned so far is based on an insight into the nature of meaning. Okay, so if you consider the differential theory of meaning, language is used to refer to objects. And then the second one, the ideational, language is used to express our ideas. And then the third one, words have meaning in the physical context of human activity, the responses, the stimulus in our response in our activities. But it is an oversimplification to say that meaning is identified with only one of these aspects. This is just an oversimplification. It may be a combination. You may arrive at a meaning by having a combination of these responses, or a combination of these ideas presented here. So most theories of meaning are also based on the notion that a word must be followed by one certain aspect or thing on every occasion of its use. And the theories are therefore formulated as answers to the question, what sort of entity is meaning? Okay, so we've looked at the three theories so far: the differential, the ideational, and the behavioral theory. Okay, and we've seen that all these theories have problems. Okay, and because of these problems, there is another theory that was proposed, so that at least we can have a theory that may be representative of what actually happens when one is trying to arrive at a meaning of something. So a different way of looking at language and meaning was established by Ludwig Wittgenstein in 1953. His work is in a way a criticism of all the theories of meaning that we have discussed so far. One of the main points in the major work of the later, that is Wittgenstein, his work was Philosophical Investigations, is a negative one. It states what meaning is not. Okay? So it states what meaning is not. His view emphasizes the use of words and language. It is the way an expression is used that gives it its meaning. Okay? So how a word is used, how an expression is used is very important here, because it is the way it is used that you can derive, you can get a meaning of an expression. So how something is used, how a word is used is very important here. So the meaning of an expression is identified with its use, but meaning cannot be identified with any particular aspects of the usage environment, neither the referent nor a mental idea. So here Wittgenstein was trying to argue that we cannot just be focusing on the referent, we cannot just be focusing on mental ideas, but you also need to consider how an expression, also consider how a word is used for you to know, or for you to get a meaning of something. So according to Wittgenstein, meaning depends on the whole context of use, the whole language game, the whole form of life that the participants share. So his primary contribution is as to introduce a holistic perspective on meaning, which is also labeled as usage holism. Okay, an important word here, especially in connection to Wittgenstein's work. So usage holism. What do we mean by usage holism? Usage holism could be described as follows. In order to understand an expression, you need to master a set of practical activities in which this expression is used. So context is important here. You need to master a set of practical activities in which this expression is used. So this is all about context. When Wittgenstein argues for this holistic view, he exemplifies how aspects of the usage context, other than the ideational and referential aspects, affect the meaning of an expression, e.g., social relations between different language users. Okay, social relations, social context is also, important. There are other factors related to context that may affect the meaning of a word, the meaning of an expression, the meaning of a phrase, or even a sentence. So another contribution of Wittgenstein, apart from the issue of holism, is hence that he has inspired others to focus on new aspects of the usage environment, in addition to or opposed to the referential and ideational aspects. Okay, so he tries to incorporate in this use theory of meaning, that is, apart from having in mind how a word is used, okay, he also considers other aspects or other theories like the speech act theory and also behaviorism. Okay, so the ideas that have been covered under behaviorist theory may also be important here. So he says, apart from looking at how a word is used, we also need to consider the speech act theory and also behaviorism. So Wittgenstein emphasized that language has many different functions, not only to convey ideas or to refer to objects, and he also stressed that speaking is doing something. So the speech act theory, speaking is doing something. So this is all about the speech act theory. So besides informing, speaking may be doing a number of other things, such as asking, joking, begging, requesting, convincing, and so on. So whenever we're talking about the speech act theory, we have in mind the acts of doing something. Okay, so we have in mind what is it that is involved when you are saying something. Are you informing somebody, or are you speaking, for the sake of asking a question, joking, begging, and so on? So the speech act theory has tried to describe how people use language in terms of speech acts. And there is a clear appeal to aspects that lays outside the realm of the referent or the mental ideas of the language user. The factors that make an utterance a command or a description can be, for example, the bodily behavior of a speaker, the eye movements, pitch, the location of the utterance, the social role of the speaker. So, apart from just looking at how a word is used, we may also need to consider other things for us to arrive at meaning. Pitch matters. Okay, even the bodily behavior. Okay, sometimes you look at how somebody is looking at you, and then try to tally or try to maybe link what he's saying with his or her body, reactions. Okay, so all these matters for one to arrive at meaning. So speech act theory is often labeled as a meaning is use theory. So the use theory of meaning, as we've seen, especially from the work of Wittgenstein, also considers other aspects. The speech act theory, the behavioral theory of meaning, especially the ideas that we get from behaviorism, and also other important aspects, okay, as have been listed here: the behavior, the bodily behavior, pitch, and so on. So we've discussed in detail the three theories of meaning, the four theories of meaning: the referential, the ideational, the behavioral theory, and also the use theory of meaning. But there are also other theories that I would like us to consider. So at this point in time, it is important that we look at the verification theory of meaning. So according to this theory, a sentence is meaningful just in case its being true would make some difference to the course of our future experience. An experientially unverifiable sentence or sentence is meaningless. So it is a theory that focuses on verifying something, verifying a sentence. So when a sentence is not verified, it is considered meaningless. So more Specifically, a sentence's particular meaning is its verification condition, the set of possible experiences on someone's part that would tend to show that the sentence was true. Okay, so in order to verify, in order to say that a sentence is meaningful, one needs to consider, or you take into consideration, the experiences. What sort of experiences do you have? So those experiences will help you in judging whether a sentence is meaningless or meaningful. So experiences also matter. This theory, however, faces a number of objections. It has ruled a number of clearly meaningful sentences meaningless, and vice versa. If we are trying to, for instance, if you think about verifying something, verifying a sentence, based on what we've experienced, based on what we know, and so on, the sentence that I would call meaningless would be meaningful to another person. Okay, so this theory has ruled a number of clearly meaningful sentences meaningless, and vice versa. It has assigned the wrong meanings to sentences that it does count as meaningful, and it has some dubious presuppositions. Okay, so that's the first objection, but there's also another objection, okay, and which is regarded as the worst. So the worst objection is that, as Dahem and Quinn have argued, individual sentences do not have distinctive verification conditions of their own. But you also need to think about verifying individual sentences. Is that possible in reality? I don't think so. So Quinn went on to bite that bullet and infer that individual sentences do not have meanings. There is no such thing as sentence meaning. That is according to Quinn. There is no such thing as sentence meaning. Quinn also attacked the formerly widespread view that some sentences are analytic in the sense of being true by definition, or solely in virtue of the meanings of their component term. Okay, so what we see here is that verification as a theory of meaning also is associated with a number of problems. Okay, and then we're moving on to look at another theory, which is compositionality. Okay, remember the principle of compositionality? A principle which emphasizes on the fact that we can arrive at a meaning of a sentence by looking at by having or taking into consideration the literal meanings of individual words in the sentence, and also the way the sentence itself has been syntactically organized. So according to this one, the language must contain meaningful expressions built up from other meaningful expressions. And how are their complexity and meaning related? The traditional view is that the meaning of a complex expression is fully determined by its structure and the meaning of its constituents. So the literal meanings of the individual is used in a sentence, for instance, and its structure, the syntactic organization. So once we fix what the parts mean and how they are put together, we know the meaning of the whole, according to that principle of compositionality. So according to compositionality, a phrase's meaning is derived from meaning of constituents and syntactic structure. So now this principle implies three separate claims. The first claim is that the meaning of a complex expression is completely determined by the meanings of its constituents. And then the second claim, the meaning of a complex expression is completely predictable by general rules from the meanings of its constituents. And then the last claim, every grammatical constituent has a meaning which contributes to the meaning of the whole. So those who support compositionality, that is, the proponents of compositionality, typically emphasize the productivity and systematicity of our linguistic understanding. So productivity, how we produce something, how we produce a sentence, and then the systematicity of our linguistic understanding. So productivity and understanding, how do we understand what has been uttered? And now the opponents of compositionality, those who oppose this principle of compositionality. Meanings of larger expressions depend on speaker intentions, on the linguistic environment, and on the setting in which the utterance takes place. Okay, so it's not only about looking at how something has been used, on the maybe literal meanings of the individual words in a sentence and even the syntactic structure, but we also need to consider context, okay, as it was seen in the use theory of meaning. So the linguistic environment also matters, the setting. So all these things are all reminding us of that context, matters for one to arrive at the correct meaning. So in conclusion, from what we've discussed so far, or from what we have learned from this topic, it is clear that the use theory of meaning provides a sound basis for deriving lexical semantic meaning. So the sum of the word's context is a good indicator of the word's use and hence its meaning. Okay. You also need to see how the opponents of compositionality have highlighted how important context is for one to arrive at meaning. So context is also one thing that we need to bear in mind for us to come up with the correct meaning of an utterance. This marks the end of our lesson. So there are some books that you may also want to read in order to get more details about the theories that we've talked about today. But this marks the end of our lesson. Thank you.